let me be very, very clear. I am stealing this idea from Alex Hermosi. Alex Hermosi was gracious enough to share a personal story of somebody that ran up to him. I think it was at a grocery store or whatnot, asking for help and advice. Alex, unfortunately, was not in a position to give the gentleman enough. So Alex, it bugged him. And if you watch his videos on YouTube, I think has over 1 million views. He basically laid out what someone should do. So what I want to do with the three amigos, Matt and Dion, is set the stage and then find out what these two wonderful gentlemen advice would be. So guys, you ready for this? How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing awesome. Ready to go.
And Dion, how are you?
Howdy. I'm awesome. Ready for this. Looking forward to it.
All right. So let's assume this situation, it's a 20-year-old nephew. So again, men, right? Because that's, I think, where we feel most comfortable speaking. Not sure if the advice would be different for a niece, but we're going to make it clear this is a nephew. He is graduated high school, has not gone to college. He's probably working multiple jobs. He is in a relationship, and he's struggling. He feels like the system is stacked against him, feels like there's no hope, and he's angry. He's mad, and he just doesn't know what to do. So we're going to go round and round. We'll start with Matt, who was actually a 9th grade dropout. So let's assume your nephew walked up to you, kind of laid it out, was pissed off, was unhappy. And where would you go first? What would you do? What would you ask? What would you say?
Sounds good. You start tomorrow at 7 a.m. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. So I think what it needs to be is you need to be, there's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts. People waste years on shortcuts. They also waste years in the wrong plan. And the idea is you might not know what you love, but start with what you love and then get around other people that are doing what you love. And the way that you start, you need to be around that knowledge base and the vernacular and the language that those people are using in the field or what you want to be doing. So the very first thing that I would tell them, and again, this is kind of out of topic for me, but the very first thing I would tell them is, all right, you want to do what your uncle does? Sounds good. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to start Monday morning, 7 a.m., and you're going to be with one of these crews. And I want you to be the first guy in, waiting for somebody to show up at the job site. And I want you to be the last guy to leave. And if you do that in the next year, you will make more money than you've ever made. And you will learn more than you've ever learned about a topic that you want to actually know and understand. So first in, last out, we call it Philo. First in, last out. And in the area that you want to understand and learn skill, or almost as important, you have somebody willing to give you the knowledge.
I like it. Dion, your story is one of a gentleman who went out and joined the military because your family's career was harder. Then you went to the police force. Would you tell a 20-year-old that's struggling, just go get a job that has a pension, or what would your advice be?
So with 13 siblings, I was trying to count them in my head. It's almost plural, dozens of nieces and nephews around this age, 20 to 30.
Okay. Yeah.
I call them ask holes. Because I have been approached by almost all of them with questions of how did you do what you did? How can I do what you did? And of the dozens, there's one, Wayne, who's doing it, taking action. Joined the Air Force, been in the Air Force for a while, is in his first duplex house hack. So he's kind of on the trajectory to do what I did, or a version of what I did, probably a better one without the bad debt and the mistakes that I made before getting into investing. But I think the challenge comes from the perception of time. If you take somebody who's closer to our age and you talk about a goal that's going to happen in 2, 4, or 5 years, we know it's going to happen. We know that time's just going to kind of fly by. When you're 20 and you just came out of a situation where every 9 months a school year ends, every 3 months summer is over, everything is happening just fast, fast, fast. You're 16, you can drive. You're 18, you can vote. You're 21, you can drink legally now. And all of a sudden, it's decades before there are massive changes in your life. When we say something like, Matt, just show up tomorrow when we're going to work, you're going to be the first in, last out. the average 20-year-old is thinking, I'm not committing to a full day. I want what you have now. Right. And so it's really hard to present the information in a retainable format. So what I've gone with any of my either friends or family or nephews and nieces or my kids is, if you want something that you see that someone else has, make sure you get the information from them. Right. You don't come to me for relationship advice. You don't get advice on money from broke people, but they're the ones most willing to give it because they're trying to justify why they don't have money. And, you know, if you can figure out a way to present the information to where a young person is willing to even take it in, I think you win the battle. And for me, that's been obviously Rich Dad, Poor Dad. For several, it's been giving away the book one rental at a time. But it could be, not everybody is into reading, kind of like Matt. Matt is not a reader, right? And so I've said the quote before, the person who doesn't read has no advantage over the person who can't read. So if you have somebody in your life who just refuses to take in information that way, which podcast? So if you could find a way to isolate Graham Stephan and Meet Kevin from 2017 to 2019, and just take those specific videos and send it to your average 20-year-old, I think they would take it in. So I still send Minority Mindset. He hasn't gone off the deep end of YouTube fame and now everything has to be whatever it takes to get you into my syndication that the large YouTube people tend to go. Which way is that person at that age going to take the information in the easiest? And that's how I would like to present it. Instead of saying, here's what you need to do, it's here's where you can find the information to help you do it. Yeah,
I love all of that. One of the things, and we'll go back around one more time. The first thing that comes to my mind if I was talking to my nephew would be, I'm not going to tolerate, I don't know what else to call it, whining, complaining, not fair this, not fair that, blah, 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 blah. You're a 20-year-old man. You're an adult. Stop, go read the book Extreme Ownership or something. It's on you, buddy. Your life is yours. It's not your mom's. It's not your grandma's. It's not your dad. It's yours. Stop complaining. Find your thing and go after it, right? I believe getting wealthy is extremely easy. You have to create disposable income. Stop saying stupid shit like, I've got 3 jobs, I deserve this thing. You don't deserve anything. You need to bust your ass, create some dry powder, go get good at something, and do it for a decade. And again, if you're 20, you could be financially free by 30. I would trade places with you in a heartbeat. To know what I know now and to be 20 years old, not 51, I would give up everything I have right now to be that 20-year-old. I would not increase my lifestyle. I would probably be financially free by 25 or 26. Just stop whining. Just if you're mad at the end of the day, your social media feed is wrong. You got to go find inspiration. You got to go feed yourself positivity. You got to go figure out what lights your fire. If it's real estate, great. If it's deep, I don't know, repairing bikes, great. I don't care what it is. Go find it and go after it. But man, 20-year-olds like to bitch and complain and life's not fair and it's stacked against me and I can't do anything. And the damn boomers, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, frustrating. All right, Matt, where do you go next? We'll go around one more time.
So I would give them a phone number to call. It's 1-9364-285-2623. And that's one Wambulance.
Wambulance? Some people, somebody's going to call that number. I hope that's not a real number.
It's not a real number.
Okay.
It's too many digits.
Good.
But this is the thing, like, call someone who cares. Like, dude, we've all done it. We've all been through it. Just to your point, we've all been there. We've all done it. I worked 100 hours a week for 10 years of my life. And then when I was ready to slow down in my 30s, after I got married, I worked 80.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that
so you backed off 25% or 20%.
Exactly, because I wanted to spoil myself. Right?
You got old.
So I went from 100 to 80, but then I still stayed 80, and then that 80 was for the next decade until I had kids.
Mm.
And then once I had kids, then it knocked down to about 60. And so in my 50s, just a few years around the bend, I'll probably be down to 40. And then I need to accelerate and get from 40 to 0 or 40 to 10, in like a few years. And so that's the way that I looked at it, was the more investment that you make up front, right? It's compounding interest. It's the same concept, but with your time. And that compounding interest that I put in, when some people were like, how did you double everyone's revenue on the board? I was like, I'm twice as talented, and I put in 30% more time.
I mean,
right?
that's again something Alex Hormozi says, right? If you want to go, if you have somebody at the top of the heap and you want to beat them, don't do what they do more.
You have
right?
to, unless
you
you're,
have to do
and that's
more.
only if you're, I mean, at the end of the day, Mike, how many guys have we been around in our sales careers? And you're like, that guy is an eagle. He's a stud. Like, that guy just closes. Closing isn't an event for him. It's a process.
Right.
And so he always gets deals. And that's the guy that I was. So if somebody was going to beat me, they had to be A, as skilled as I was, and B, put in as much time as I did. That's why I lived between 200 and 500% of my quota every year. And I told every VP I ever had, you build a model on me and it's going to break, because I'm the only one that's going to win. And you're going to have a bunch of people leave because they can't make any money. And then I'm going to leave because I can't make enough money because you built the plan based on me.
Right.
I'm special. And so, but it's proven. And that's where I think a lot of younger generation get it wrong, is we aren't programmed to love you like mommy and daddy. Everything that you did, like, oh, congratulations, let's make a big deal. You closed the door finally when you walk in the garage.
These 8th place trophies that you grew up with, life's not that way, buddy.
Yeah, that's what broke society. So my take on it is, don't call the wambulance. You're going to have to recognize that to do at least the same thing as the guy that did it before you, you're going to have to work at least as hard, learn some lessons from him, so maybe you can get there a little bit faster. But there's no, like they talk about with engines, there's no replacement for displacement, meaning the size of your engine is directly correlated to the speed. This largely is something that's coming into play with life. There's no replacement for showing up and effort. There's no replacement for that.
Yeah. All right, Dion, what's your final kind of thought?
Okay, well, I saved this kind of for the end of the video, because anytime I go into teacher mode, I don't want to bore anybody to sleep. If you're talking to somebody who's around 20, and they're actually asking you the questions, how do I achieve financial success? How do I not be a wage slave for the rest of my life? It's not so much what you present, it's that the person needs to receive it in a way that matters to them.
Sure.
And so your nephew, you know your niece. Are they visual, audio, kinesthetic? Which way do they take in information? When you ask them questions, you can use all of the teaching tricks to figure out how they need to learn. So I'll try 2 different tracks to see which one seems to have the best impact. The first one is I'll try data. And I'll say, you're right. If you're going off the examples you guys have given of where it sounds like they're kind of whining and complaining because the world wants to hold us down. So with the data, I'll say, well, you're 20, you're going to be coming up on 25 pretty soon, right? You're going to hit 25 before I ever do, because I'm already past it. Did you know, and show the chart, that Gen Z, right, the youngest generation, now there's another one coming already, but Gen Z for me is like the youngest one right now, owns more primary homes at the age of 25 than both millennials and Gen X, right? It's not harder, it's not worse. There are people who are pulling this off. You're surrounded probably by people who might not be pulling it off, so it seems like it's not happening. So there's the first bit of data. The second thing is, in 1970, we have kind of 3 classes. You have the poor, middle class, and wealthy, right? In 1970, the wealthy represented 14% of the population in the United States. In 2021, they represented 21%. So yeah, the middle class is shrinking, but that doesn't mean everybody's getting poorer. You're going to hear that over and over. The middle class is shrinking. Did you know that we've increased the number of wealthy people by 50%? Right? That's a huge thing. And part of this is because of things like YouTube University, right? In the older days, you basically got the information from your parents, or maybe if you were lucky, you found the right book. Now you can open up YouTube, and if you watch cat videos and dancing videos, the algorithm is going to feed you more of those. If you watch Crash Bro videos, they're going to feed you more of those. If you look for the Alex Hormozis of the world and you say, who is successful and how did they do it? You're going to get more of those. Yeah. So try the logic approach. And then the emotional approach, there are some people who just think based on emotions, and you can tell logic and data isn't going to impact them at all. So I'll go with start with the joke of, when you're 20, if you don't vote Democrat, you have no heart. And when you're 40, if you don't vote Republican, you have no brain, right? Get them thinking that, oh, there's a social aspect of age here. Because right now, when you're 20, you're just now escaping our indoctrination system of education where they force feed socialism on you. And they try to say everything left is right and everything right is conspiracy and evil and horrible. And capitalism is the death of the world, even though it's what literally stopped World War II. You could try the emotional aspect of, at your age, you're going to be surrounded by teachers, peers who tell you going after money means you're a bad, evil, horrible person. But then if you look at the people who are 40 to 50 and they realize life is happening and I have to retire at some point, and now they're starting to try to make moves. If you can get that mindset now, like Zuber, you said, you could be financially free by 26 to 30. And then you can actually, if you still have that left-wing ideology of how do I save the planet, if you're not struggling to feed yourself, now you can spend the rest of your life trying to figure out how to help everybody else. You can't do that if you're whining and complaining and not taking action. So that'd be the two paths that I would look at and figure out which one would stick best with the person who was asking.
Yeah. So my final thought is not everybody's an entrepreneur. Not everybody is, handy with tools or wants to do what Matt was talking about in episode 1. I would tell someone, if you want to earn a lot of money at a day job, get a commission-based job. I have an advanced degree, which means I got an undergrad in economics, and then I got a master's in just an MBA. I would tell this 20-year-old, you don't have to do any of that. I would say, go get some public speaking classes or Toastmasters or something, and go to it until you are elite.
Yeah.
Public speaking is the only skill I learned in college that's made me millions of dollars. That is it. All the other stuff, almost irrelevant. It's the public speaking class I took at a junior college. Second, in today's day and age, one of the things you may want to pick up, if it's your thing, is editing video. I think video is going to be more important going forward than any time. So go find something, become elite at something. Go volunteer, give away skills until you have a Rolodex or what they call a portfolio, and then get paid for that. Again, I will say it. I would trade places with everything I have today with a 20-year-old, as long as I could keep my knowledge that I have. And I would be financially free by 25 or 26. I would be in a better spot by the age of 35, because you still need time for these assets to do what they're going to do. But it's right there in front of you. And then the last thing I'll talk about is you need to fire some of your friends. You are in this doom loop of other 20-year-olds bitching about the system. You need to fire those friends. You need to go get some new ones. If you don't get new ones, none of this matters. They will eventually pull you back in. I don't care if you get excited about your uncle's car and you want that thing someday. Your friends are going to pull you back. Why are you busting your ass? Why are you working 12 hours? You're not the same. You're different. Dude, you need new friends. You just need new friends. So at the end of the day, Matt, I know that people should be following you because you are hands-on and putting it out there. How can they do that?
Lumberjack Landlord on Instagram and on YouTube. And I was going to say, when Dan was talking about capitalism in World War II, my 3-year-old, I'm pretty sure, is a terrorist because she wants a dog and she keeps on finding reels of dogs. And so here's what I found. Every time I pick up my phone and I look at reels, I've got Dion, shirtless Mike, Zoo, and puppies. And so, right?
Why would she be a terrorist with puppies? Come on.
She's got an evil plan. But my point to that is this.
Got an evil plan.
Speaking to your point, firing friends, what's your consumption? My consumption on reels, my consumption on social media is almost all, minus puppies, it's almost all people that I follow that I respect their journey, and people that I still can learn from. That's what all of that is, And sadly, my 5-year-old son really likes farts now. And that's a problem because I am in the fart doom loop. But I'm almost like happy about puppies. But the good news is that a majority of those, and what's what we need to focus on with social media, these people don't even spend a lot of time with friends, Mike. They're spending all of their lives on social media. And if that's the case, then you need to have your top 5 be talking to you about how you change your stars and how your future changes.
Yeah, and I would tell someone to go one step further, block doomers. Just block them.
Yeah.
Too many of you are like, no, I watch them for the other side. No, you don't. It's poisoning the well. Just poisoning the well.
I literally stopped watching all of that stuff because I realized it was the same noise and nothing changes. Even when the facts don't change, now Gurley from Inventure, Reventure, whatever it's called, he's now getting absolutely roasted because the data he shares was wrong.
Yeah.
Congratulations, poser. Congratulations.
Yeah. It's funny. Yesterday on Twitter, you guys follow me on Twitter, one rental at a time. Somebody posted a video about somebody calling a housing crash in 22 and then doing it again in 23. What I replied with? In 2022, the guy made $500 talking about a housing crash. He made $5,000 doing it in 2023. Why is he going to change? He doesn't care about you. He cares about getting paid. Anyways, I digress.
True.
Dion, bring us home, man. Where can people find you and bring us home?
Find me right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, where I do things like audit my personal network. I think that's rule 5 of your 7.
Yep.
And
other shoulder.
Yeah, other shoulder.
And I definitely audit my social media feeds. Make sure you're not taking in negative stuff. Yes, look for data that says, be cautious, don't over lever, don't have too thin a margin, right? Do this with caution. But I mean, don't tell Matt or Mike this, but the reason I'm here is this is me auditing my network. These are the guys I want to hang out with. I get to do this every week. That's why I watch way too much of your guys' content, but I'm okay with that because look at the life it's giving me.
Yeah.
Anything I want every day.
Folks, at the end of the day, whether you're 20, 30, 40, or 50, all of this applies. We just chose, again, full credit, full acknowledgement. I stole this idea from Alex Hormozy. But again, I think all of this applies whether you're 30 or 40 or 50. It's all out there for you. These are things you can do. Like, subscribe, comment, become a part of the journey. We are almost at 50,000, and it's almost time to plan the Vegas party. If you hit subscribe, you can help us get there and be part of the first 50. Guys, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.